Space Coconut.
Okay, it's Halloween as I write this, but I had an epiphany today at work while going through the forums. Apparently, this spirit is going to get tweaked like the nurse. As of writing this, I haven't found a quote confirming this, but given the amount of crying and cheering I'm seeing, it's probably accurate. The problem with this, though, is that these overpowered killers might not actually be overpowered. Omega Blink Nurse certainly was, and the tweak to her base power may or may not have been necessary. But the same can't be said about the spirit. There are arguments about how it's impossible to mind game a spirit and other issues, as well as how her kill ratio is high. But what if the issues people are having with the spirit are happening because of how ranking works? What if it's not that the spirit herself is overpowered, but the survivor playing against her was going against a higher skilled player? A lot of killer viability issues stem from how ranking works in Dead by Daylight. For a while, we had a matchmaking system that didn't really match ranks, and it was a nightmare for every player. Here's what I'm thinking. Because the ranking system doesn't rank skill, you have people who have a skill level of 7 or 8 playing at rank 1 against people who might actually have a skill level of 1. Then, these people with average skill are stomped by a viable killer in the hands of a true rank 1 skilled player, and are led to believe that the killer itself is overpowered because they, as rank 1 players, shouldn't get smashed. Then we get them on the forums calling for nerfs, especially since the nurse was nerfed. Give an inch and they take a mile, so to speak. In regards to the kill ratio, the ranking system can also be to blame. Because killers are tuned according to these kill ratios, according to a certain group of players within a specific range of rank, it creates many balance issues, the least of which is apparent overpowered killers. Without an accurate skill-based ranking system, it's impossible to get accurate kill ratios, not to mention the uncontrollable variables like DC's skewing the results. Again, if players are ranked at 5, but have skill levels ranging from 1 to 15, you shouldn't base balance decisions off of data that's flawed at its base. Until the ranking system is fixed, tweaks to perks and powers should be postponed. Once the ranking system can accurately rank according to players' skill, then it will be accurate enough to measure kill ratios. It will also highlight which killers need the most help, as well as point out the ones that might have a higher kill ratio. Unfortunately for us, the devs deliberately create weak killers with frustrating downsides. They have a habit of ignoring feedback or cherry-picking comments to make their decisions sound good. However, with the recent dev Q&A, we have a little insight into their thought process behind the killers and how they adjust them.
So that's what we were talking about.
So let's be careful about characterizing it as a Dr. Buff. If we're looking at characters, we're looking at characters on the whole. What kind of quality of life upgrades can we make for the character to make them feel more fun to play? What kind of quality of life deficiencies for the players who are playing against them can we address? Can we make them essentially more fun to play and more fun to play against? And then we also want to take a look at what are the overall results. So I would say we are probably more focused on making sure that everyone's having a good time than making sure that everyone has exactly a balanced kill rate. But it is important to make sure that nothing gets too far out of hand, which I'll actually get back to in a second. So what we're looking for here is to make Doctor a better experience all around. Actually, I'll put it this way. Whether you guys are going to call it a buff or not, I am eager to see. Because sometimes it's a surprise to us. There you go. I'll put it that way.
After watching this clip, I realized that he talked about the kill rate again and making sure everybody's having a good time, blah, blah, blah. Again, they can't get a good, accurate rating of that until they have a good ranking system and a system that measures skill. So, I don't know. That's something hopefully they take into consideration, because the people, us, we, players, understand where the power lies in this game. We understand it on an innate level, and the devs literally only have data to base their decisions on, and unfortunately they're not willing to admit, or they really just don't understand that their data is flawed at the very base of it. But let's move on to the other part of this, because it's more important for what we're trying to do. The rest of that answer basically means that in order to get them to listen to player feedback without being asshats about our concerns, we have to frame our concerns completely around quality of life changes and what issues in particular make a killer less fun to play. Unfortunately, I'm not the one people should be asking about how a killer feels to play against, since I'm a trash survivor, and you guys know I don't play survivor if I can avoid it. Because of this, I'll focus on what makes a killer less fun to play, of course in my own opinion. Okay, just my opinion. And that'll lead into some assumptions about how it might affect survivor players. This also means, of course, that your comments in regards to how my suggestions or the issues I highlight might affect your experience as survivor players. I welcome debate. Many of you disagreed with my comments about the challenges, and it was pretty enlightening. It also showed me that when I'm talking about a potentially controversial topic, I should make sure that I explain my thoughts very clearly. Anyway, this video is basically the start of the Killer Study series. I have a framework for how to make it, and I can certainly start with some of my favorite killers. If you think those videos in the future are good enough for the devs to watch, please share them on the forums. If you like what I'm trying to do here and want to stay up to date on the future videos I make, or even just have a chat about things, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. YouTube doesn't push my stuff up, and every little bit helps. You can also follow me on Twitter if you like. I still have a few hag video submissions that I'm working through, and I'd like to get those out when I can. I apologize that it takes me so long to do them. The dream is still to do this full time, but, I have a full-time job that takes precedence. But for now, I'm going to get back to work on these videos. I appreciate you guys. Until tomorrow, I'll see you in the fog.